Hello everyone, and welcome to the 4th episode of the Heavensward Dungeon Lore series. In this series, I hope to explain things you might not know about Final Fantasy XIV dungeons, as well as discuss their individual stories and lore. This episode's dungeon is the Vault. As movement in Ishgard unfolds after the fall of Nidhogg, Estinian and the Warrior of Light make the journey back to visit Hraesvelgr at Zenith, where Izael still stands, and after some questioning, it is revealed that the second eye stolen from Nidhogg by Estinian actually is the lost eye of Hraesvelgr, who long ago lent his brother his left eye after the latter lost both in the fight with Haldrath and his knights. Nidhogg then shortly set out on his path of vengeance against Ishgard and its people. Estinian, however, brings a more alarming question to light, being the whereabouts of Nidhogg's missing eye, as only one is actually accounted for. There is no time to ponder, however, as contact from Emmerich tells us that Ishgard is being besieged by a force of heretics, although Izael states that no order to attack was made. Returning to the city, we catch the Temple Knights mid-skirmish with a force of heretics, which Izael quickly quells, telling the death of Nidhogg. Haurchefant arrives soon after, and though a little uncertain about the presence of the apparent heretic leader in our midst, greets us and listens to our tale from the mists. Returning to Fortemps Manor, we explain the true origins of the Dragonsong War to Edmund and Sir Emmerich, who presently leaves to confront the Archbishop on the long-held lie. Lucia remains behind, and explains that a rumour has circulated among the highborn in Ishgard that Emmerich in reality is the illegitimate son of the Archbishop himself, and that such an attempt to expose the truth will likely land the Lord Commander in prison, if not lined up to be executed. Lucia, Estinian and Haurchefant all vouch their support for such a scenario to rescue Emmerich, and we move to focus on gaining assistance from the revolutionaries within Ishgard, said to be within the Broom. After speaking with Tataru, who seems to know very little on the group, we speak to the residents of the Broom who unsurprisingly aren't too eager to speak on something that might get them arrested. We learn, however, that the name of the leader of said group is known as the Mongrel, and we return to the Forgotten Knight to gather information on the name. Gibrion, the owner, is also reluctant to speak thanks to Barman's confidentiality, but asks us to assist in a way that could lead us on the trail. We run an errand to gather herbs, after which Gibrion hands us a bottle of mulled wine, and tells us that a man is wont to spill secrets under its influence. We bring the wine to a maidservant who remembers a Huron girl that once made a similar blend, and how she fell for a nobleman who, once taking her into his manor, cast her out when it was discovered she was pregnant with his child. She eventually gave birth in the Broom, and passed away not long after. Gibrion comments that such a tale is not uncommon in the low-born areas of Ishgard, and sends us with another bottle of wine to visit Geraldue. He tells us of how, even when pregnant with her child, she offered all the help she could for the less fortunate residents, even when she struggled to feed and clothe her child. After returning to Gibrion once more, we speak with another Broom resident, and upon commenting that the mongrel must retain the black hair of her mother and the red eyes of her father, the reaction of the peasant all but confirms it. At this point, Tataru is noted to be missing, and the Warrior of Light and Alphino give chase and find her cornered by two thugs. But as we approach, a woman known as Hilda arrives from behind, with the telltale black hair and ruby eyes, the mongrel herself. She takes us back to the Forgotten Knight and pays the staff to leave for a private chat, but soon after, Sir Charibert arrives and proclaims heresy, and a fight ensues with a member of the Heavensward. Once Charibert is pushed back, Lucia arrives and attempts to deliver a blow, but the priest flees by jumping up and over the nearby tavern. Hilda agrees to assist with the plan to save Emmerich and give chase into the vault, and hopes to do so by spreading rumours of a large heretic force attempting to breach the Steps of Faith. Once the rumour has been spread, Estinian and Lucia attempt to breach the prison area in which Emmerich is likely to be held, as the Warrior of Light, Haurchefant and Alphino attempt to infiltrate Ishgard's largest and most holy building, the Vault itself. We find ourselves heading straight into the enormous cathedral-like room, and head forward into the place to find temple knights at every turn. Defeating several small troops of knights, we pass by St. Thornton's Basilica, along with the hundreds of pews facing the huge sunset-lit stained glass windows. Proceeding through a handful of gates, we eventually reach the choir and find Sir Adelphil Brightblade and 2 knights awaiting us. During the fight, the knight simply uses his gladiator abilities, but when injured, a sudden transformation takes hold of the knight. Pushing the party back, he grows in size and becomes much more powerful as Sir Adelphil. In this form, Adelphil uses his Holy Blade to unleash powerful spells against the party. Holy Shield Bash knocks a player to their knees, followed by a powerful slash. He also dashes quickly around the arena, leaving bright orbs in his wake, then leaps and lands on a nearby party member as the orbs explode. Upon defeat, the knight returns to his regular form and flees to the inner chambers of the vault. We head up the stairs to the higher level of the Chantry, following the corridor and defeating more stationed knights until we reach the Chantry lift. Defeating the 2 reanimated statues here, we take the lift up to the inner sanctum and continue forward past the huge garden outside the area. We encounter 2 more statues shaped as bipedal horses, the Black and White Knight, after which we reach the chapter house and find Sir Grinno the Bull, eager for a rematch. Similarly to Adelphil, Grinno fights as normal, but when injured takes his own transformation to hand, becoming huge and giving his attacks more of a gravitational effect. His dimensional collapse slashes across the arena with heavy blows, and his hyperdimensional slash cleaves across the room, leaving an ethereal tear in its wake. Standing near this tear causes it to attach to a party member and rip them apart with heavy gravity, and Grinno attempts to knock players back into the tear with his faith unmoving. Once Grinno is defeated, he proclaims that time is on his side, and also flees to the upper reaches, the Hall of the Spear. We proceed forward to a second lift, defeating another pair of knight statues, and head up to the very top floor of the place. Now heading outside onto a walkway, we turn right into the rotunda, facing a vault priest who brings life to the nearby gargoyles, and after they fall we reach the chancel, the very top of the area. As we enter the large platform, we catch a glimpse of Sir Zephyrin and Archbishop Thornton retreating through the rear door. But before we can give chase, Sir Charibert once again stands before us, immediately transforming to his powerful form as we prepare to engage him in battle. During this fight, the priest attempts to imbue his spells with holy fire to burn what he calls sickness from the party. He uses Altar Candle to burn the tanking party member, and Altar Pyre burns the party with damage. He binds 2 party members with Holy Chain, which burns if the 2 chains remain close to one another. Meanwhile, the Black and White Knights march across the arena, bleeding anyone who gets too close to them. When injured, Charibert begins to channel a powerful spell, and becomes guarded by a pair of knights as holy flames appear across the platform. These orbs also channel their own spell, and must be defeated as quickly as possible. After this, Charibert unleashes his spell, and after more marching knights and holy chains, the member of the Heavensward is defeated. Charibert falls to his knees as our allies approach from behind, and the knight is in disbelief at his defeat. Zephyrin appears through the door and calls for Charibert to retreat, and our allies give chase as an airship passes overhead, heading for the end of the platform on the far side of the door. Thornton approaches it as the ship lands, and as we draw closer, our other allies appear with Emmerich in tow, who shouts to his father to reconsider, considering that Nidhogg has fallen and the deception of the past should be revealed to all. Thornton calls Emmerich a fool to the last, unwilling to break the 1,000-year history Ishgard has been based on. Haurchefant nods to the Warrior of Light, and the pair rush towards Thornton and the ship, but as we do so, Sir Zephyrin, in his own empowered form, calls forth a Spear of Light and throws it at the Warrior of Light. Haurchefant calls us to watch out and rushes to our defence, throwing up his shield to block the magical spear. But as he tries to defend as best he can, Haurchefont's shield cracks and breaks, and the spear pierces through his body as the knight spits blood. Zephyrin returns to his original form, and Thordan commands the ship to leave for Aziz's Lair. Emmerich calls out Haurchefont's name, and Thordan's airship takes off, collecting Zephyrin as it passes. Our allies gather around Haurchefont as we see his pierced and broken shield, and as Alphinaud tries his best to heal the knight, he knows that the wound is too deep to mend. Emmerich tries to sit Haurchefont up a little, and the latter glances at us, relieved that we are unharmed. He reaches out a hand which the Warrior of Light clasps in their own, despair across their face. Haurchefont, however, bids us not to look at him in such a way, and that a smile better suits a hero. We do our best to honour his words, but as we do so, the knight's eyes close for a final time, and his hands fall from our own. The other friends and ourselves look on in horror as the knight fades away from our grasp. Afterwards, we make a final return to Fortaunt Manor, where a devastated Count Edmund faces away from the group, begging us not to speak the words that confirm his worst fear.
Don't. Please.
Alphinaud tells Edmund that Haurchefont's sacrifice will not be forgotten, and the man breaks down, falling to his knees. And that's the end of the story and lore of the Vault. After such progress in ending the Dragonsong War, the loss of Haurchefont as well as the true colours of the Heavensward sets us back a long way. With Thordan fleeing to Aziz's Lair, it remains our duty to discover the meaning of the place, as well as tackle the scheming of the Vanu Vanu in the Sea of Clouds. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, leave a like and subscribe to the channel for more Final Fantasy XIV lore, and I'll see you next time for the Great Gubal Library.